Oh man, this is it. This is it. What's up? Let me make sure we're operating here. Got to make sure. Got to make sure YouTube's awake and Rockfin is awake. And those are the only places that we're on today because it's the patron stream slash Rockfin premium stream. You know what? I think I should start doing that. You know what I think I'm going to do? I think, Rockfin won. Yeah. Rockfin beat out YouTube. Rockfin was quicker than YouTube. Ha! I like when that happens. Victory. Yes. What's up, everybody? How are we? I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everyone is safe and healthy and wise. And I'll wait for people to load in. It's Sunday morning. Sunday morning, as the great philosopher of our time, Nancy Pelosi would say it. Wait, is it? Yeah, it's Sunday. Sorry, took me a second. I was like, wait a second. The days of the week, sometimes they get weird on you. Sometimes, but you know what? I think I'm gonna start doing the Patron and Rockfin Premium streams on Twitter as well. Because again, the streams go out to everybody, but then the replay is only available on Patreon. Patreon and Rockfin Premium. The replay is only available there, but the initial stream goes out to everyone. I think I should start just doing it on Twitter too. I mean, if it goes out to everyone, why not let it go out to everyone, and that's the way it ought to be. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's get straight to some of the things the patrons are saying, which, by the way, as people slowly load in here, this is the patrons slash Rockfin Premium stream where I respond directly to the patrons and the Rockfin Premium members, and I respond to the things that they send me. Not planning any of this in advance. Just kind of doing it off the cuff. It's a laid back stream. It's a casual stream. It's not prepared ahead of time. I know pretty much my show's a pretty casual show in general. So this is like the casual of the casual. It's like casual squared, if that makes sense. And also I gotta give a shout out to my buddy Joe, who helps me out with some editing and helps me out with some of the production stuff when he can. And today's his birthday, which means today is also my birthday because Joe and I have the same birthday. So it is our birthday today, and Joe is significantly younger than I am. But who's keeping score? Who is keeping score? No one should be. I am old enough. You know, the first thing I do on my birthday is I listen to a song by a guy named Tim Carroll, great songwriter, Tim Carroll. Look him up. And he has a song and it goes, "You can't stay young, but you can stay cool." And I listen to that song every day, or not every day, every year on my birthday. I listen to that song. It just gets me through, you know? I like it. I feel it. I feel it in my veins. All right. So this is from Mark. What's up, Mark? How are you? I haven't heard from you in a long time. I hope you are well and everything is going great. And I hope all's well up in Massachusetts. But you share this information from Massachusetts. Municipal broadband died in a small Massachusetts city because it appears to have been bribed and or the city state refused to fund them. This is the worst time for this to happen. Beld, BELD, has been providing low-cost internet, cable, electricity, and phone services for several decades. They dropped cable, it all makes sense now, just before this, and it seems like they are slowly dissolving their entire service. I'm sorry to hear that. Let's see what's going on here. We'll check it out. Mark sends this. Braintree Electric sells internet service business to Comcast. So this is the company's called Beld. And let's see where this is in Braintree, Massachusetts. The Braintree Electric Light Department sold its internet business to Comcast. A spokesperson for the nonprofit publicly owned utility provider said Wednesday the sale will allow Beld's approximately 2,500 internet and phone customers to transfer service to Comcast, which has served Braintree for 18 years. Yeah, Comcast served Braintree and has among the fastest and most widely available gig speed broadband service. A Beld spokesperson said the sales price will not be disclosed and the deal will have no impact on the utility's electric division. The transition is expected to start later this month. We are proud of our 20-year history as a local internet service provider and sincerely thankful for our customers' loyalty. This was from Bill Baltigi, who is Bell's general manager. Our top priority has always been our customers, and we continue to think of their best interests while adjusting to market's conditions. After evaluating our options, we are confident the best decision is to connect our residential and business customers with Comcast's best in class network, products, services, and customer experience. Batiji said Bell made the decision after conducting a study. The study showed Bell would need to make a major multi-million dollar investment in network infrastructure over the next few years to maintain quality of service. This cost would have required a significant increase in customer rates. The broadband market has always been competitive, and the pandemic added further uncertainty, Botigi said. This sale will ensure our internet customers can count on reliable, robust service over the long term while we uphold Bell's responsibility to the Braintree taxpayer community. Bummer. Yeah, I mean, bummer. And look, obviously, municipal broadband is a huge part of the mission of this show, and municipal broadband, when it is unrolled right, and I'm not saying that Bell, I mean, it seems like they were in the game for a long time as a utility, and they just, Comcast just kind of came in and they couldn't adapt the way Comcast could. That's what it sounds like. But when municipal broadband services are, unrolled properly and ready to meet the moment and ready to compete with the big cable, they have a pretty much 100% success rate. There have been times where municipal broadband has been tried and the wrong contractors were brought in, or the wrong, the budgets weren't assessed properly, or the customer base wasn't assessed properly, and it fails. That has happened. I'm not going to sit here and say that's never happened. Of course it has. The good news is there's a ton of organizations out there that will help you. The big one being the Institute of Local Self-Reliance. There's only so many contractors in the country that do this type of work. So there's organizations out there that will connect you, no pun intended, with the right one. And I don't know if Bell was looking to do that. It seems like Bell was just kind of looking to get out of the game. And I'm not judging them. I don't know all the history here, but it looks like they were trying to compete as a utility. They only had so much behind them. If they only had 2,500 customers and Comcast had the rest, you know, maybe they just weren't able to have the base necessary to sustain. That's totally possible. But one thing that I can say, there were resources out there for them should they have chosen to utilize them and should they have chosen to continue to try to survive. So that's a bummer. When you hear stuff like this, it's a big bummer. And when you hear stuff like this, a lot of people use that to try to discourage municipal broadband. They'll be like, oh, well, look at Braintree. Braintree failed. And hey, we don't even need to leave Massachusetts to say, well, look at Charleston. Look at Charlestown, Massachusetts. Town of 7,000. Sent Comcast pack and did municipal broadband. It's working out for them. Look at parts of Cape Cod. They got municipal broadband now. Look at Cambridge. So, and that's just off the top of my head. I don't live in Massachusetts. My wife's from there, so I do have some ties to Massachusetts, but I don't live there. That's just off the top of my head of several muni broadband success stories in Massachusetts compared to the one failure. So I'm sorry to hear that, Mark, and thanks for bringing it to my attention. But certainly, maybe Braintree will be able to come back. I mean, maybe Braintree or maybe Massachusetts will pass a bill similar to what we passed here in California. That's an extensive broadband bill for the entire state. We got that passed here in California. Still kind of sifting through the details of it. At least I myself am. And by the way, Ernesto Falcone of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, he's supposed to be coming back on this show shortly to go through the ins and outs of that bill. So, yeah, some of y'all are bringing out Chattanooga, Tennessee. And yeah, there's a lot of great examples of municipal broadband victories. And again, y'all can go to muninetworks.org and you can just view the interactive map of all the municipal broadband projects going on in the entire country. So, there's a lot of them. And when you hear about stuff like this, when a city just can't compete, or when a city, I think there was also a situation in Utah where they just assessed everything the wrong way and it ended up just going belly up. So, yeah, like any other project ever, there's a right way to go about it and a wrong way to go about it. And if you go about it the wrong way, yeah, it's not going to work. It's just like anything else. If you go about municipal broadband the wrong way, then you're not going to last, and the big cable companies will. Because the big cable companies, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing when it comes to exploiting a customer base. They know what they're doing when it comes to putting a bunch of red tape in place so that cities can't compete. They know what they're doing when it comes to cornering a market, when it comes to organizing a duopoly with the other cable companies. They know what they're doing when it comes to all that. So that's what we're up against. But thank you for sharing that, Mark. I appreciate it. And I'm sorry to hear that news. Um, that is a big bummer. But hopefully, I mean, Mark, I don't know if that's where you live, but if it is, hey, show up to a city council meeting, make the case for municipal broadband, and bring up to people, hey, we don't have to let this die. We should get in touch with the Institute of Local Self Reliance. They can put us in touch with contractors that can get our service up to par and do so in an economic way where we'll be able to compete with Comcast. It's always a possibility. It looks like we're staying in Massachusetts here, which is interesting because Edwin, you share this. Edwin, I hope you're well. And Edwin, I have to confess to you, I still have not watched Get Back, the Beatles documentary. I got to do it. I still haven't done it. I know everyone's been talking about it, and I just haven't been in the doc mood, if that makes sense. Whenever I kind of go to watch something, usually it's my wife and I, and we're like, let's put something on. And usually we just want something um very easy. Does that make sense? Like we just want something that's a total unwind, which might be partially because of the world at large, I'd imagine. But we just want to unwind, and so we just do like comfort. And I'm just not feeling Doc. I'm just, especially since the Beatles. The Beatles is a very beautiful story, but it's also a very sad story. The Beatles is like a prime example of just a coming of age story. It is a love story. It is a story of grappling with fame and fortune and counterculture, and it is a political story. I mean, there's so much beauty, bittersweet beauty in the Beatles story. And of course, you look at how it ends, kind of a rough ending in many ways. I mean, from the breakup to what happened to John, you know. So I just haven't worked my way up to it yet. I do need to see that doc though. Everyone's talking about it. Get back. Ron, you need to get back on the couch and watch that freaking doc. But a lot of times I just want to unwind with a hockey game. That's been that's been where I'm going. I've been catching up on some Penguins. No spoilers, please. I don't know what happened at the game last night, but that's kind of been my MO. It really has. But Edwin, you say this week. Do you remember about 2 years ago, I sent you an article about Boston Dynamics robotic dog named Spike? Yes, I do remember that. I remember you sent me that article, and I also remember that video went viral of those robot dogs. And I'm sure you guys have all seen that video where there's that robot dog and the dog could like open doors and shit. It's very creepy and dystopian looking. But I'm sure you all remember that. You can find that video on YouTube or wherever else. But anyway, all right. So let me go to this. You send this in. Oh, and here's what you say about it. Um, well, check this out. All right. You say, check this out. Let's check it. US reject calls for regulating or banning killer robots. Of course we do. Why would we killer robots? Does that sound like something the US wouldn't embrace? We like to commit war crimes against our own people. Of course we would want killer robots on the street. We're a dystopian hellscape. We are a dystopian hellscape who wants to brutalize our own citizens. And that's what we've been doing. Of course, why would we want to regulate or ban these killer robots? It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what this country is, and that people just we're the empire. You know how like if we were Game of Thrones, we'd be King's Landing. King's Landing, that place where people are super rich and they live like royalty and everyone else is struggling and they're oppressed and they have to go off and fight wars that they don't want to fight in. They have to be away from their families. They don't want to be fighting these wars, but they don't have a freaking choice because they're oppressed and poor and desperate. That was that whole scene where Arya met the freaking King's Landing soldiers. Ed Sheeran was in that, remember? That was the point of that. They wanted to show you how King's Landing is an empire. That's us. If all the places in Game of Thrones were countries, we would be King's Landing. The United States would be King's Landing. There's a bunch of rich people, and that is a total shithole for everyone else. Don would be like Greece or something. Anyway, I mean, a lot of you probably don't remember that show at this point. It's that's kind of an old. I revisited it. I'm not proud of this, but I will be honest with you guys. During the pandemic, I did revisit Game of Thrones. I was like, yeah, it's only been like a year or so, but why not? It's a soap opera, but it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable so until the end. And my wife and I, we watched it through to the end, and we're like, maybe the second time around, the ending's a little better. Nope, it's still not great. And if you haven't seen that show yet and you're thinking about it, I do recommend it. But yeah, you're gonna be at the ending, you're gonna be like, oh my god, what? And just be prepared for that. Honestly, just be prepared. Um, all right. So Edwin, let's get into this. U.S. reject calls for regulating or banning killer robots. U.S. official proposes non-binding code of conduct at United Nations, but campaigners disagree. The U.S. has rejected calls for a binding agreement regulating or banning the use of killer robots instead proposing a code of conduct at the United Nations. How can any of the other countries stand us at this point? By the way, and I'm not saying other countries are perfect. They're not. They're not. I don't. They run. They're not. I know. I know. I know we're not the only imperialists on the world stage. I know, but holy shit, do we set the bar? Holy shit, do we set the bar? The United Nations. Hey, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't killer robot dogs. Maybe that's kind of a step too far. Maybe we shouldn't do that to the plebs. The United States. Wait a second. Hold the phone. I think there's some redeeming things in these killer robot dogs. Have you ever seen that look in the killer robot dog's eyes right before they zap you to death? It's adorable. You can't help but wanna pet the metal or whatever it is those things are made of. They don't look like actual dogs, by the way. For those of you who haven't seen the video, they don't look like actual do They look like this creepy ass creature out of a sci-fi movie. They can open doors and shit, and they can kill. Don't you want those walking around? Doesn't that you'll feel safer. Will that make you feel safe? If one of those things was near me, I'd be freaked out. My first reaction would be to like kick it, and then it would probably kill me. I would probably kick it, and it would latch on to my leg and just rip it off. That's what it would do. It would just rip it off, and I'd be like, okay, well, it just freaked me out, and it was just a knee jerk reaction going to kick the thing. Now I don't have a leg, but it's all for the safety of society. This is important work that they're doing. Who feels safer from that? Who feels safer from I was tweeting about abolishing the police the other day because I do think that's something we need to do. Now, I understand when you say abolish the police, you need to kind of have some asterisks there and explain what you mean because some people are like, so you're just saying there should be no law and order whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the police as we know it is not here to serve and protect. They're there to brutalize and um, uphold the oligarchy, quite frankly. And they're a system rooted in white supremacy. They're a system rooted in authoritarianism, and that's what they do. The police, as we know it, should not exist, and it should be replaced with something else. I'm not saying we should have no law and order whatsoever. I'm saying the police, as we know it, is a disgusting, system. I'm not going to call it a failed system because it's not failed. It's doing what it's set up to do. It's set up to oppress people. That's what it does. So I'm saying we need a new system that actually serves and protect. And by the way, there's a piece that I wrote. You can find it on my Substack. It's called New Police, Please. I lay out exactly what I would do. So people are like, Ron, well, what's the solution? I wrote out what I would do. If I was elected emperor, this is what I would do. This is how I would have law and order, so to speak. This is how I would have quote unquote police, but it would be a different kind of police. It would not be police as we know it. So I laid out exactly what I would do, by the way, just for the record. And I won't get into all that. You can read the piece. Let me know what you think. You might agree with all of it. You might agree with some of it. You might agree with none of it. But I mean, I don't know. I'd be willing to argue that it's better than what we got now. If we implemented my idea, it'd be better than the police we got now. I don't know if it'd be perfect. I'm sure it wouldn't be. I'm sure there's no such thing. But it'd be better than what we have now. I can promise you that. Anyway, so let's get back to these freaking robots, shall we? Back to the killer robots. It's Sunday morning, folks. Back to the killer freaking robots. They want a code of conduct. Speaking at a meeting in Geneva, focus on finding common ground on the use of the so-called lethal autonomous weapons. We got to find common ground. Can you imagine being the United States? Everyone else, yeah, killer robot dogs. That's a bridge too far. United States, wait, no, hold up. Let's find common ground here. What if we allow the killer robot dogs, but they're only allowed to kill so many people per month? What do you think about a quota? What do you think? They're looking around. They're like, are you guys bloodthirsty maniacs like us? We're blowing up the freaking world. We're the largest polluter, too. Come on. You want a burger? Let's break for some shitty domestic beer. I have a feeling like we are the least favored seat in that freaking thing. They probably roll their eyes. I'd like to think somebody once put like a whoopee cushion on the United States seat before. Like, fuck those guys. So anyway, the U.S. official balked at the idea of regulating their use through a legally binding instrument. The meeting saw government experts preparing for high-level talks at a review conference on the convention of certain conventional weapons. That's a convention. It's a convention of certain conventional weapons. The climate is collapsing, folks. The climate's collapsing. And we just had the COP26, which, by the way, talk about a sad fucking, what do you call it? Monogram or whatever. What's that called? Where it's like it's an abbreviation, but it spells a word. There's a word for it, but you know what I mean. What a tragic one. The COP26. And by the way, who were the leaders at COP26? Oil lobbyists. That was the biggest group represented in COP26. Oil lobbyists, a climate summit. All the leaders around the world gathered in Glasgow, Scotland. And oil lobbyists were the most represented group there. It's amazing. It's amazing. And then they have time for this shit. They're like, oh, let's have a convention for conventional weapons. This sounds like something out of The Onion. Convention of certain conventional weapons. Oh, and they do it near the holidays. It's in December. Just in time for the holiday season. How's your Hanukkah? You prepared for Christmas? You looking forward to Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate? Well, let's talk about these weapons. Let's talk about these weapons first. In case you need some stocking stuffers. Get a missile for your loved ones this holiday season. In our view, the best way to make progress would be through development of a non-binding code of conduct, blah, blah, blah. The United Nations has been hosting diplomatic talks. They're diplomatic. Let's have our diplomatic talks about weapons. Let's have our diplomatic talks about weapons that brutalize and kill people. Let's do it diplomatically. As one world. We're united in peace, talking about the different weapons that we use to kill around the globe. This should be in The Onion. It's not. This is a real thing. They have a freaking weapons convention during the holiday season. Oh, God. The United Nations has been diplomatic, right. Activists in a number of countries have called for an all-out ban on any weapons that could use lethal force without a human overseeing the process and making that final kill order. Hey, even that's not working out so great. I can tell you, as a resident of the United States, even having humans behind it, still not going so great. Still going pretty bad. Just saying. You can see the statistics of what cops do in this country. In November of 2018, the UN chief Antonio Guterres joined the call for a ban, but so far countries do not even agree on whether there's a need to regulate the weapons. Why should we do anything about it? Killer robot dogs? Just let them loose. We should have them in the schools. That'd be great. During Thursday's debate, a number of countries, including India and the United States, criticized the idea of a legally binding agreement. Dorson insisted a code of conduct would help states promote responsible behavior and compliance with international law. Campaigners disagree. States have a historic opportunity to ensure meaningful human control over the use of force and prevent a world in which machines make life and death decisions, said Claire Conboy. That's an interesting. Claire Conboy. I almost read that as Claire Cowboy, but it's Claire Conboy of the Campaign to Stop Killer Robots. That's a real thing we need in the world. We have reached the point where we are doing nothing about climate change while the climate collapses. We are entering a new era of feudalism in the United States and in other parts of the world, but especially in the United States. And we need a campaign to stop killer robots because the United States especially wants to just unleash killer robots on people. I mean, you could not pitch this as a dystopian script. They would say it's too unbelievable. You cannot pitch our contemporary society as a dystopia. They'd be like, this is just too unbelievable. And throughout Joe Biden's president, are you serious? Come on. They wouldn't. That guy in this moment, holy shit. You wouldn't be able to pitch it. An independent process to negotiate new law on killer robots would be more effective and inclusive than the current diplomatic talks, Bonnie Doherty, a senior arms researcher at HRW, said in a statement. Not an onion piece, folks. From The Guardian. It's real. It's real. We have campaigns to stop killer robots. And we have conventions to talk about all the great weapons. Meanwhile, the climate's collapsing. We have poverty all over the frickin' world. People go bankrupt over medical bills in the United States. People go into crippling amounts of debt just to get a higher education in the richest country in the world. People are housing insecure more so than ever before. All this is happening. We have no living wages. We have no living wages at all, and no one's doing anything about it. The oligarchs are getting richer while the quality of life continues to decline and decline and decline for people. People are dying younger. Life expectancy is literally going down. And they're thinking, we got killer robots for you. We're going to unleash some killer robots. That'll help. That'll help. We got the killer robots. Anagram. Thank you for that. Anagram. Yes. Anagram. That's what it's called when it's Alexander. Thank you for that. And Alexander, I'll get to your challenge here for the week in a second. Alexander correctly points out anagram. Thank you for that, Alexander. And by the way, for everyone just tuning in, I'm usually weird about this, and I always am, but I already said it, so I'll just say it again. Today's my birthday. I just had another trip around the sun. And it's also my buddy Joe's birthday. We have the same birthday. So happy birthday, Joe. And Joe's a lot younger than me, but who's keeping score? I always listen to the song, You Can't Stay Young, But You Can Stay Cool by Tim Carroll every year on my birthday. I listen to it at times that aren't my birthday, too. But I listen to it when it's my birthday. So speaking of birthday boy Joe, here's what he says. Joe says, and Edwin, thank you very much for that. I got a kick out of that. We got to laugh about it. Otherwise, we'll go nuts. Joseph, what's up, buddy? As far as pets and companions go, we've heard your thoughts on dogs and cats. Yes, and I need to make that video about dogs and cats soon. I'm going to be making a video on how I believe that cats are every bit as loyal as dogs. They just show it differently. So there's a lot of studies that indicate that is the case. And by the way, when I make this video, it is not an anti-dog video. I love dogs. You guys know that I love both. I mean, I have Lucy, so I have a cat. But I take care of my neighbor's dog all the time. In fact, I just took care of her yesterday because my neighbor was out of town. I love dogs too. So this is not an anti-dog video. This is just saying, hey, they're both wonderful companions. They're both wonderful pets. And it's not that one is more loyal than the other. They're just different and they show it in different ways. And maybe you prefer cats over dogs. That's fine. Maybe you prefer dogs over cats. That's fine too. Maybe you love them both. If I had more room, I would love to have both. But right now, I live in a one bedroom. Lucy is not a super young cat. So having a dog in this confined of a space, not that our apartment is like unbearably small. I mean, there's enough room for the three of us, but if we brought a dog into the mix, I would want to have more room where Lucy would kind of have some space where she could go, where she could be secluded when she needs to be. And in our apartment right now, we just don't have that. I also obviously don't have a yard. Although I know you don't need a yard for a dog. I mean, people, especially where I live in Los Angeles, people make it work. You can do it. And it's most important to give the dog a home. But right now, just I wouldn't be able to have a dog. But if my circumstances were different, I would love to have both. I would love to have dogs and cats. I really would. But anyway, as Joe mentioned, you guys have heard my thoughts on that. And Joe points out, I get that for Lucy's sake. Another cat or dog won't be joining the Placone household anytime soon. That is true. And here's Joe's question. I love this. But what are your thoughts on having amphibians, frogs, toads, salamanders, etc., and reptiles, turtles, snakes, lizard, etc., as pets? Would Lucy be against having a new amphibian or reptilian friend? I don't know how Lucy would respond to like a turtle or something like that. Snakes, I personally, snakes freak me out a little bit. I have no desire to ever have a pet snake. That's just me. If pet snakes are your thing, all power to you. They freak me out. I gotta be honest. Um, you know, not trying to be a hater. I know some people that they got pet snakes, they love them. I'm not bashing you. I'm just being, for me, snakes. I mean, I'd wake up and I'd see a snake and I'd be like, ah. So anyway, big spiders too. I'm not, to each their own, but not for me. Um, Now a turtle would be kind of interesting. My grandmother has turtles, and I always thought it was cool, especially when I was a little kid, because she would have these turtles. And of course, when I was a little kid, the big thing was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think that's still a thing that kids like, by the way. I think they're still remaking Ninja Turtles, which, by the way, can be traced back to an Italian comic series. But anyway, um, yeah, a turtle would intrigue me a little bit. And I don't know how Lucy would respond to a turtle. I feel like she would be curious and then indifferent pretty quickly. Like, I feel like she would kinda go, kinda paw at the turtle, and then be like, "All right, dude, you do your thing, I'm gonna do mine." I think that'd be the extent of it. I don't think it would really stress her out, or anything like that. I think if anything, it could be the other way around, like, Lucy might freak out the amphibian, the turtle, or whatever else it is. I know that when I was a kid, we had gerbils. We had gerbils as a family pet, which I know aren't reptiles or amphibians necessary, but they're still like a small, they're still like a small pet, right? And we got a cat, we got a family cat, and that cat would just terrorize the gerbils. Like he would kind of nap on top of the gerbil's cage. And there was nothing we could really do about it. I mean, we tried to keep them apart the best we could, I guess, and I'm pretty sure he just like the gerbils were just terrified that he was gonna get them, and that was the end of it. Like they just I mean, I feel kind of bad, like the those poor gerbils lived their lives in fear. Because there was I mean, we tried to, and it's like the cat never actually messed with the gerbils. He would just kind of watch them. Like, I don't think he even well, I guess if he could, I mean, because gerbils, they're kind of like mice, right? So yeah, who knows what he would have done if he would have gotten hold of the gerbil. I mean, when I think about it, it's like, oh, that wasn't. I mean, I was a little kid, like, but anyway, uh, people can make it work. But I remember as a little kid, uh, that cat kind of terrorized those poor gerbils. Never got to them, but yeah. Um, But anyway, my grandma has turtles, and the crazy part is those turtles that she had when I was a little kid, those are still her turtles. They're still because turtles, I mean, they can live for a long freaking time. I mean, some of them can live up to 100 years, I'm pretty sure. So if you do not want to say goodbye to your pet, which nobody likes that part, that's the really bad part about having pets. If you want to avoid that and not say goodbye to your pet, um, then turtles are the way to go. That's the way to go. Get a turtle. You don't need you have to make plans for that turtle when you go because you're gonna outlive that freaking. If I got a turtle today, that turtle would outlive me, and I'd be like, all right, well, I never have to say goodbye to this turtle. And turtles eat pizza with anchovies. That's so you're gonna be buying a lot of pizza. Don't actually feed your turtle pizza with anchovies. Don't actually do that. Um, so yeah, I guess to answer your question, I think Lucy would be pretty indifferent. And me personally, I yeah, that's not. I'm not gonna get a lizard or anything like that. I get why they're appealing to folks, but they're not all that. Yeah, it doesn't appeal to me. At least not right now. Maybe someday. Maybe someday I'll have like a whole area of lizards and turtles just hanging out. Frogs are interesting. A pet frog, that's fascinating. Now again, I wouldn't want I don't have any interest in a pet frog. I mean, I like frogs. I think they're cool, but I wouldn't have any interest in a pet frog. Um or anything like that. Now the weirdest pet, I know people who have had wolves. Now that would be something I'd be intrigued by at some point. Having a pet wolf. Apparently they're like dogs, but even smarter. Because I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, wolves and dogs, they're, the same family, basically. Um, but apparently wolves are like super smart. They are, and when you have them as pets, they're like crazy, crazy smart. Like they just get, yeah. I don't know a ton of people that have wolves, but I know a couple people, and they all say that they're like, yeah, they're freaky smart. Um, I know someone who had a wallaby, which is I don't know. That's tough because this isn't really, especially here in the United States, it's not really the right situation for a wallaby. But I know a guy, he had a wallaby, and there were a lot of things he had to do to give the wallaby a life, basically. Like there were a lot, like there were certain ways he had to take care of it, certain ways he had to feed the wallaby, certain environments he had to create for the wallaby. And it's actually a pretty sad story. Someone stole the wallaby. Someone stole his wallaby, and he just posted flyers around town, and he just said, "Look, please return this wallaby. Like, no questions asked. Please, like, I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I just want my wallaby back because." There's a lot of particular things you have to do to take care of the wallaby. And if you don't do these things, the wallaby's going to die. So you probably don't know what you're doing. And this was a little while back where, I mean, I'm sure now you could probably like look on YouTube or something and find information on taking care of wallabies. But who knows if a thief would do any of that? Like, I don't, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say somebody who stole a wallaby isn't thinking, oh, I better be a good caretaker now. They're probably thinking, how am I going to get money for this? Why else would you steal a wallaby? I mean, unless the person was like some kind of activist who was like, I'm going to return this wallaby to its natural habitat, which, by the way, that's not what happened. They found the wallaby dead. So sad ending, but that is what happened. And yeah, so again, I'm assuming the thief was not looking out for the wallaby. I think it's safe to say that that thief was not taking the wallaby into account. So, that was the end of that wallaby, unfortunately, but that's the most exotic pet that I knew that where I know someone that had one. I know a couple people that had monkeys. I felt like when I was a kid, I kinda liked the idea of eventually getting a monkey, but I heard they're mean. I heard monkeys are mean. I don't know if that's true, but I always liked the idea of, like, just a monkey on my shoulder. But yeah, apparently they're like not super friendly all the time. That's what I've heard. Again, I've never had one. But that kind of appeals to me. So yeah, I think if I ever went beyond just dogs and cats, monkey or wolf would kind of be the first two things that I'd consider. My cousin has birds, and that just seems like a lot of work. And yeah, I don't think it'd be easy to have birds. I don't really have an interest in having birds. Um, Same with, all the things, Joe, you mentioned, amphibians, reptiles. Yeah, I got turtles would be the only thing that would kind of be interesting to me. So yeah, I guess those are my top three. If I ever went beyond the dog and cat scope for a pet, I'd be thinking wolf, monkey, turtle. Those would be the three that I would consider that. And never say never. There might be a time in my life where I say it's time for a monkey or a turtle or a frickin' what was the third? A wolf. Wolf would be the first one I'd consider. Getting like a frickin' wolf. Because that'd be interesting. Now I would want to make sure that I had the right circumstance for a wolf. I mean, I know you can have a dog without a yard, but I don't know if you can have a wolf without a yard. You might need a yard for a wolf. You might need a wolf for a yard. That too, sure. But you might need a yard for a wolf. But I know you do it for a wallaby. That was one of the things. But anyway, let me get to the chat. Thank you for that question, Joe, and happy birthday, my friend. We have our mutual birthday here today. We are Sagittarii. Sagittarii. All right. Atypical Paul, what's up? Happy birthday from Penny Lane and me. Mine is in 5 days. Aw, thanks, Paul. And thank you to Penny Lane as well. And happy early birthday to you. You're a fellow Sagittarius. We are a fire sign. We love to travel. We're inquisitive folks. We're curious. Are you a typical Sagittarius, Paul? I guess I kind of am. I like to travel. I mean, I travel for a job. So yeah, I'd say I'm a fairly typical Sagittarius. My fire sign traits come out at times. So happy early birthday to you, Paul. Love your content. Thank you so much. And looking forward to your movie and Lucy comic coming back. Thank you so much for that, Paul. And I am stoked for that too. If you haven't heard yet, yes, Paul is correct. Lucy and Ron is coming back in 2022. And I am so stoked to bring that. I've missed making that comic a lot. I've really missed it. And I'm so excited to bring that back. And thank you very much for the super chat contribution, Paul, and for the birthday wishes. I appreciate that. Let me go over to the Rockfin because I got another challenge from Alexander. First of all, Alexander, I hope you are well. Thank you very much for the Rockfin tip. You help keep the show on the air. And every week, Alexander gives me a challenge where Alexander gives me 3 musical groups, and they all have something in common with their name. And it's pretty obvious, and this week is no different. And I have to pick my favorite group of the 3 that Alexander gives me. All right, so this week's a fun one. They're always fun ones, but I love this one. You ready? The Beach Boys, Beastie Boys, or Backstreet Boys? Backstreet Boys is eliminated right away. No offense to the Backstreet Boys. I know they're very talented. And it takes a lot. When I was a kid, obviously I was anti boy band, right? Like I'm like, boy bands, no. I like punk rock music, which I did and still do. And I still do not care for boy bands. It's not really my cup of tea. But as I've gotten older, I mean, I respect the musicianship. I respect the craft. It takes a lot to sing at that level while dancing. That's impressive. They're very talented. And, some have gone on to do a lot of other things musically. I mean, Justin Timberlake, incredibly talented guy. Music's not my cup of tea, but kudos to him. I know he wasn't Backstreet Boys. He was in sync. I don't know. Did any of the Backstreet Boys go on to do anything? I don't even know, to tell you the truth. I mean, honestly, like, I don't know. I mean, some of them might be in movies or something for all I know. I honestly don't know. But I'm not fluent in the history of the Backstreet Boys. But I did want to go to a Backstreet Boys concert once. Now that's a fun. I have a younger sister, so during the boy bands craze, she was going through that phase, and I was a little bit older, and they were all going to a Backstreet Boys concert, and some of the parents were going as chaperones. And I was only, I want to say I was maybe 14 or 15. I wasn't that old, but I decided I wanted to go as a chaperone. Why did I want to go? Because the opener was Shaggy. I like Shaggy's music. I like It Wasn't Me. I like Mr. Boombastic. I loved that song as a kid. What's the other? His remake of Angel. I thought that was such a cool adaptation that he did of that song. You're my angel, you're my darling, baby. I love his version. His version's great. So I enjoy Shaggy's music. I like Shaggy. And Shaggy was opening for the Backstreet Boys. And of course, the ticket was free because I was going to be a chaperone. So I made my case. I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I would really like to be a chaperone. And she said, Why do you want to be a chaperone for the Backstreet Boys concert with your sister and all of her little friends? And I told her why. I said, Because Shaggy is opening and I want to see Shaggy. No, I did not get to be a chaperone. They had enough chaperones. They did not need my services. But my mom did tell me, she's like, thanks for the heads up about Shaggy. He was really good. So I guess my mom enjoyed the concert more than she would have otherwise because she got a tip that, hey, the opener is actually pretty cool. Check him out. Otherwise, she might not have known that this opener is worth watching. You know what I mean? And she might not have watched the opener. She might have just gotten drunk or whatever it was she did. I don't know what she did. If I was her, that's what I would do. I would try to make if I was chaperoning a boy band concert for my child and their friends, I would want to not be driving. In fact, I would have if my kid if I bet if I could drive, they would have taken me up on it. I'm pretty sure I was not 16 yet because I think had I been 16, they've been like, "You know what? You get to be a chaperone. Here's the car keys because you can't drink." At least not legally and not at this concert. So here's the keys. Guess what you get to do? You're driving. Too bad I wasn't 16. I could have seen Shaggy. I've never seen Shaggy live. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance. I really don't. And by the way, thank you guys for the birthday wishes. By the way, thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Dave. And everyone over on YouTube, thank you guys as well. I appreciate that. I appreciate it very much. I've always been very weird about my birthday. I've always had a big, kind of a big phobia about getting older. Like I have an anxiety towards it, and I'm still dealing with that. And I know some people are like that. Other people aren't. Some people they freaking love their birthday. I never did. Even when I was like young, I never really cared for my birthday. Like for some reason, a lot of times weird things and not great things would happen to me on my birthday. Like one year I got the chicken pox on my birthday. Another year I got the flu, I'm pretty sure. And I guess part of it is just it's winter and that would happen. But it wasn't uncommon for me to get sick on my birthday. When I was in high school and college, usually finals would be around my birthday. So I would just celebrate my birthday at a different time anyway, because, it was like finals week. So I've always had like a not so great relationship to my birthday and also, fear of getting older, anxiety towards getting older. But I, I've kind of I've been making an effort in recent years to evolve on this. And there's been a number of reasons why I've been trying to do that. One of the big ones is because of my wife. I mean, first of all, part of it is just growing up. I've realized that I can't stop getting older. That happened. There's no way you can stop that. No one can stop that. No one can stop the fact that every year the number on your driver's license, the number when you fill out a freaking form and you have to give your age, that number is going to be higher every freaking year. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. Nothing you can do about it. That's the way it is. So there's that. Also, my wife has helped me evolve on that some. And part of it is my wife. My wife's mom, my mother-in-law is a Jehovah's Witness, which that has some hardships growing up. Now my wife was not raised Jehovah's Witness. No one else in her family was a Jehovah's Witness. It was just her mom. But that had some hardships for her growing up and for her sisters growing up because they didn't get to celebrate their birthday. So when she was a kid in school and stuff, and everyone else, their parents would bring in cupcakes or goodies for their birthday. She didn't get that. And it's sad. It's really sad. And so, sometimes I feel like a jerk, and I should, when I kind of rag on my birthday or complain about my birthday or say how much I hate getting older and hate my birthday to somebody who really missed out on that growing up. I don't know what it's like to not have my parents acknowledge my birthday. I don't know what that's like to this day. My parents sent me a nice gift. I will for sure talk to them on the phone later today. My dad texted me at midnight, and my dad's not the type of guy who usually stays up till midnight. That's not really his thing. It was East Coast time, just to be clear. My dad doesn't live; he lives out east, so it was East Coast time, but it still counted. But so, having that experience, I've tried to evolve on my birthday because I don't think it's fair. I don't like the idea that it's like she had to grow up that way. Um, and now she has to have a husband who has this huge neuroses towards aging. I don't want that for her. So I'll just leave that there. Anyway, thank you guys for the birthday wishes. Let me get back to Alexander's challenge here. The Beach Boys, the Beastie Boys, or Backstreet Boys. Obviously not Backstreet Boys, despite me wanting to go see them to catch Shaggy open. Beach Boys. I got to go Beach Boys. I love the Beastie Boys. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a huge Beach Boy. Their music, not their politics, but their music. I love the Beach Boys music. Um, Pet Sounds, such a beautiful, innovative album. And keep in mind, the Beach Boys influenced so much. I mean, the Beach Boys were a big influence on the Beatles, even. I've always been a big Beach Boys fan, especially, I mean, Southern California. Brian Wilson, such a tortured soul. Now the Beach Boys are just basically a cover band. It's just Mike Love and a cover band. Um, But I did still go see the Beach Boys a while ago. It was actually for Father's Day. One year for Father's Day, we all went and saw the Beach Boys. It was my idea. I was like, let's go see the Beach Boys. My dad was like, that's a good idea. So we all went and saw the Beach Boys, and it was my first time. And even though I knew it wasn't the Beach Boys per se, I knew at the time, I was like maybe 19 or 20. I knew it was as close as I was going to get. You know, I was like, this is as close as I'm going to get. Some of the guys there had been in the band since almost the beginning. Almost. I mean, one of the guys, he had been with the band. I forget his name, but he had been with the band since like 1968, 69. So he wasn't one of the original guys, but he was close enough. Obviously, Brian Wilson wasn't there, obviously. But it was still amazing. I mean, it was just like, okay, this is the Beach Boys. I mean, it's kind of like, I saw Leonard Skinner before too, and by that point, it was pretty much a Leonard Skinner cover band. I mean, it was just the piano player was the only original guy. But it was still, it's like, well, this is as close as I'm gonna get. So shout out to the Beastie Boys. Got a lot of love and respect for the Beastie Boys, but I gotta go Beach Boys. I just gotta go Beach Boys there. Love the Beach Boys. I really do. They're diehard Republicans, so I don't agree with them politically. Or at least Mike Love is. I guess I don't know about the rest of the band. I know that Mike Love is a big Republican, but I gotta go Beach Boys there. That's a tough one for Beastie Boys, Beach Boys, two classics. Yeah. So there you go. Ronnie, what's up, buddy? Thank you for the Rockfin tip. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for that. When you get to your birthday, partly it is an achievement. I achieved this age, partly because you are one more year closer to your inevitable death. Much more into your reflections on Brianna's recent podcast on the Beatles. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I haven't listened to Brianna. Do you mean Brianna Joy Gray or who? I haven't heard that podcast. I didn't know she did a podcast about the Beatles, but I'd be curious to hear it. That sounds interesting. Thank you for that. And I'll be watching that documentary. But as far as my reflections on Brianna's recent podcast on the Beatles, unfortunately, I haven't heard it. I'm sure, Brianna Joy Gray. She always has pretty cool takes. I mean, I don't listen to her podcast, but I see her tweets and stuff, and I usually like what she has to say. But I'm not familiar with her podcast about the Beatles, so I don't know what she said about it. But I do need to watch that. I do need to watch that documentary. And thank you for that. I guess in a way, yes, Brianna Joy Gray. Okay, yeah, yeah. I haven't heard her podcast about the Beatles, so I don't know anything about it. But I like that. It's kind of an achievement. Hey, I made it. And yeah, at the end of this, we all die. I try not to think about my birthday as like, oh, I'm officially closer to death, because why would you? I mean, every day you are technically closer to death. And even though, again, this is a guy who has a lot of neuroses towards his birthday. So obviously, I do think about that. But I try not to. I'm trying to change. I really am. And not just for my wife, but for myself too. Really. I like the idea of, yes, I'm getting older, and yes, nothing can change that, but I would like to think the best year of my life is next year. And the next best year of my life is going to be the year after that, and so on and so on. I really try to live that way. Now, the past 2 years, that has been a difficult way to be. Obviously, with the world at large in 2020 and in 2021, that was sort of, I feel like that mentality was put on hold a little bit. And I think that's kind of understandable. When the world kind of deals you the hand that this world was dealt over the past 2 years, I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I like the idea of the best year of my life is going to be next year. But you know what? Right now, let's just try to do our best and get through this, and then pick up that ball again. So I can definitely say that 2021 has not been the best year of my life. I promise you. It has not been. It has been among the worst. This year, in many ways, has been among the worst years of my life. And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who feel that way. I'm not special, but I think a lot of us, this has been one of the worst years of our freaking lives. Um, for me, and I know for a lot of people, now I think people are kind of split here, and that's okay. But for me personally, 2021 was 10 times worse than 2020. Way worse. Uh, Now part of this is on a personal level. I had some issues, health issues in my family and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, as you guys know, Lucy had a health issue this year that was hard, and fortunately she's doing a lot better now, which is great. Um, but this year has really sucked in so many ways. And of course, the world at large, yeah, I would say this year has been way worse than 2020 in many ways. I feel like in 2020, there was at least a sense of, hey, we're all in this together. And now it's like everyone's just kind of at each other's throats, and it's like, I feel like in some ways in 2020, I had a little bit of, I had a little more hope for humanity than I do now. And I feel bad saying that, but I do think that's the truth. I feel like in 2020, I'm just like, God, there's a sense of we're all in this together. And this year, it's like that all just went to hell. That all just totally went to shit. I'm not saying I'm completely hopeless when it comes to humankind, but I am saying that uh we're not setting a good tone right now. We really are. As one world, we are not setting a good tone at all. And it's rough. All you can do is do your best and try to do better, and try to push the world in a better direction to the best of your ability as one person. That's really all you can do. But and you kind of cherish those little things, really. But yeah, some of you guys are giving Shaggy some shout outs in the chat. I appreciate that. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution, Paul, and a happy early birthday to you, Paul. Your birthday's coming up in 5 days. I hope you have a killer birthday. And thank you again to you and Penny Lane for the birthday wishes. And I'm looking forward to that movie. I can't wait for we're going to be breaking ground on the movie really soon, actually. So I'm pretty stoked. And of course, the Lucy and Ron comic coming back in 2022. So thank you so much for pointing that out. And I'm glad you're excited about it. I'm excited about it too. Thank you for the Rockfin tip, Alexander. Always love your challenges. Thank you for this one. It was great as usual. And I hope you're doing well, buddy. And Ronnie, thank you so much for your birthday thoughts. And I'll have to check out Brianna's podcast on the Beatles. I don't. Is it just her regular podcast or is it like a Patreon thing? Because I'm not a patron for her, but if it's just a regular podcast, I'll have to check it out. I'd be curious to listen to it. And everybody out there, thank you so much to Mark. Good to hear from you, Mark. It's been a while. Mark, Edwin, and Joe for this week's topics. Thank you so much for that. And I'll announce before we close here tour dates. I got them. 2022. I'm heading out east. It kicks off April 16th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Then where all am I going? I'm going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Mass, New York City. Get your tickets now at ronplacone.com. All tickets are available now for those shows. Don't wait. Grab them. Canada, I can't wait to see you in April. Basically, I'm doing some Canadian cities, and I built some U.S. cities around it. So I will see you out east in April of 2022. And I can't wait. Guys, thank you so much for being here. This has been the patron / Rockfin premium stream. If you're thinking, hey, Ron, I want to be a patron. I'm not a patron right now. This stream goes out to everyone, but the replay is only available on Patreon and Rockfin Premium. And you also get all kinds of other cool perks, like Ron will make you a theme song. I'll make you a theme song. I do Zoom shows that are just for patrons only and Rockfin Premium only. And you can get all of that for a Give What You Can level. There's also exclusive stand-up videos not available anywhere else. You can download my first album in its entirety. You get all that for a Give What You Can level. Whatever level you're comfortable giving, that's my Patreon. I do not have tiers, Tiers. I just have one tier, and it's pay what you can. You can get all that at patreon.com/Ron Placone. Consider it. Makes a great gift, by the way. You can gift it to somebody. You can also, I'll make a theme song for a loved one, and that can be a gift. That's a pretty cool gift. You know why? No shipping is involved. No shipping is involved when I make you a theme song. Patreon.com/Ron Placone. Tour dates, ronplacone.com. Thank you guys so much for being here. This show would not exist without you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. She says meow. And thanks for the birthday wishes. And I say thank you very much for the birthday wishes. And peace. Peace.